Been a heck of a day. The cabinet meeting, the meeting in the Situation Room. I know you were there for both of them. Did anything change today?
I'm not sure, only because Democrats refuse to acknowledge the facts. What the president did today was monumental. He brought them to the White House, to the Situation Room, to have a conversation with Secretary Nielsen so she could brief them on all the crisis that's going on the border. These numbers are devastating, they are sad, they are needless, and they are senseless. And Democrats wanted nothing to do with it. In fact, the president opened the meeting. He then turned to Secretary Nielsen, introduced her, and said now she's going to begin her briefing. Within 5 seconds, Chuck Schumer prompted Nancy Pelosi to cut Secretary Nielsen off, which she dutifully did within seconds, and then the entire presentation was basically over. I bet that the secretary probably said 50 words in the entire presentation, which tells you a couple of things. One is the Democrats didn't know, didn't believe, and didn't care about anything Secretary Nielsen had to say. Had they been there to listen?
Well, first, do you truly believe that they don't care to hear what the DHS secretary has to say? Or do you think that maybe this was not their expectations for the briefing?
There is no other explanation when you sat through what I sat through. Had they listened, had they been able to understand, had they believed the information, they would now know that CBP has arrested 17,000 convicted criminals in 1 year coming into this country. ICE has detained almost 4,000 known or suspected terrorists. Thousands of gang members have been arrested at our border as well. Nancy Pelosi refused to listen to those numbers, and when they were actually said and spread around the room, she refused to believe them as well. I've never seen anything like it in my life.
So what is the president's reaction to that? What is he saying? I mean, after these two meetings today, where does the president stand? We are about to enter day 13 of this shutdown, and I know that he has invited leadership back to the White House for another meeting on Friday. Will he be more willing to negotiate then? He's asking Democrats to give on their end. They do not want to provide funding for this border wall. I just wonder, what is President Trump willing to give up at this point to make a deal?
You want to know where the president stands? He stands for the safety and the security of the American people. What the Democrats had on full display today was that they stand for hundreds of thousands of people who come here every year illegally and unlawfully, as opposed to hundreds of millions of American citizens. And here's how you know that. The bill that Nancy Pelosi is touting that she put forward actually funds foreign aid more than it does border security. She wants to give more of Americans' money to foreign countries than she wants to spend on protection of our own citizens.
So Steny Hoyer just made it very clear, and by the way, a lot changes tomorrow with the new Congress convening, and Nancy Pelosi will become the speaker. I just wonder what changes tomorrow before that meeting at the White House on Friday. Is there going to be more room to negotiate, or does the president sort of feel like he's been put in a corner here?
Well, the consensus seems to be that Nancy Pelosi would be more able to negotiate once she secured her spot as Speaker of the House. So that's going to be interesting how that plays out tomorrow. But the president's very clear, because not only has he been repeated over and over again where he stands in his protection of the American people, but now the Democrats are on record again standing with people who are here illegally. That's a watershed moment for this country. An entire party refuses to address what they say they want, which is border security. But they don't want border security. They voted down every measure.
All right, so what I was going to say with Steny Hoyer is they plan on bringing these 6 bills to the floor tomorrow that have already passed in some form on the House or in committee under Republican leadership. If any of this, if anything makes its way to the president's desk that doesn't have the funding for the border wall in it, will he veto anything?
Well, look, that's a hypothetical, and I'm not going to get into those. But what I can tell you is the president has been clear. What he wants on his desk is a bill that opens the government, that funds the government, and protects the American people. And right now, the Democrats are not serious about that. And you know they're not serious because serious people with serious plans and serious proposals don't negotiate in the press. And that's all the Democrats have done to this point.
I've got to get to Congressman McCarthy, but just final word, have you spoken with the president since both of these meetings ended yourself?
Yes, I have, absolutely.
Could you tell us anything he said?
I don't want to get into private conversations, but what I can tell you is he stands firm with the American people. It was a campaign promise. He's already had record-setting accomplishments and record-setting time, and he wants to come through on this one because the crisis at the border is not going away. Where we were years ago, Democrats are now pushing forward with status quo money and status quo legislation, and we are not in status quo. We are in full-on crisis mode. The president knows that, and so do the American people. He's going to stand with them.
All right. Hogan Gidley at the White House for us tonight. Thank you, Hogan.
Thanks so much.